Welcome to Go Lurk Yourself, a podcast about streaming and playing video games on the internet. My name is Crunky.
I am Cherry Cake.
Today we're going to be talking about the video game Anthem that came out recently. I would say this will be more of a discussion rather than a review, because if you want to see the reviews, if you go to Metacritic, it's getting really negative reviews. But we wanted to give you guys our impression of both streaming it and watching other people play it and kind of have a little bit of a meta discussion about the state of the industry as well. Cherry, you have not played this game, right?
No, I have not, and I don't really have any desire to. Really.
Right. I think Cherry's ahead of the curve on with most of us about seeing these things for what they are, and I don't think you're not really a sci-fi type, if I remember right.
No, sci-fi is definitely one of my at least not like least favorite. I don't hate it. It's just one that I'm probably the least interested in. Yeah,
nothing about it draws you toward it, right?
No.
Yeah. You haven't even played Apex Legends yet, have you? You like Battle Royale?
No, I haven't. I was recently editing a video for a streamer friend, and I was doing highlights for an Apex Legends gameplay that he obviously played some rounds on, and it looks fun, but yeah. I think I mentioned this before, but I think I'm kind of almost over the idea of battle royales at the moment.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Yeah, it does look good, but I think I'm done with them, to be honest.
I think it kind of goes in waves, you know, like I overdid it with playing PUBG for a year and a half.
Yeah.
And then, like I played a couple other battle royales here and there, and Anthem, or not Anthem, Apex Legends is a lot of fun. Like I've enjoyed what I've played. I'm just not like you said, like my drive's not there. I'm sure that set, because I felt the same way about Rainbow Six Siege, and all of a sudden I can't get enough. So
yeah.
But so I have the Origin or Access Pass, or whatever they call it, Origin Access, which is the monthly fee. There were a bunch of games that I wanted to try, and I knew I wanted to try Anthem. While Anthem is not anything that I would go out and get, like I wouldn't have paid $60 for this game to try it. I only reason I played it was because I had that access to it for basically for free, because I'd already paid for the access for other games around January. And I thought, well, one of the things I will give Anthem a spin, because I like sci-fi. I mean, I played Destiny 1 for about a month, and I played Destiny 2 for about a month, and that's about all the content that's in there. I thought, well, if Anthem gives me something like that, that's not bad for, the $15 a month that it is. I'll give it a shot. And oh my God, this game, it's everything that Cherry said about Destiny was just echoing through my head every time I played it. The number one, first and foremost problem with it is, while it is beautiful, it has, I have a M.2 SSD drive, a really nice graphics card, plenty of RAM, and it took forever to load the missions.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, the first time you load it up, it's like a minute and a half, 2 minutes of load times. I can't imagine what the load times are like on consoles.
Oh dear.
Maybe I have some kind of HD textures on by default or something. I don't know, but holy crap, it was bad. I don't normally get that upset by load times, but Jesus. Do you remember when you play Rainbow Six Siege, you're on a team of 5 and you're playing against a team of 5, right?
Yeah.
Even if you can load the game in 30 seconds, you still have to wait for everybody else to get loaded.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're playing randomly up with other people on Anthem, if you get matched up with them, then you're stuck waiting for their slow-ass load time. So it doesn't matter how fast your computer is if you're waiting on them anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, it sucked. But
maybe it's something like... because it is fairly new, do you think they'll eventually get around to kind of optimizing that and maybe bring down? But then you say it's dependent on the other people that you play with, so
right.
It's not something that they can kind of fix.
I'm not sure, but I know one thing: I'm never going to find out. Because I'm not going to re-up subscription to this game. There's no way I'm going to play this game again.
Yeah.
And here's why. I gave it, I want to estimate I have maybe 8 to 10 hours in it in total. And I've played, the first time I played it, I was falling asleep at the keyboard. I was not happy with the game at all. Because in addition to being slow to load, very generic, very samey. The dialogue's dry. Everything has like a name for when you're in the town. Everything has like this in-universe name that doesn't mean anything to the viewer. When you're new there, they're like, the Dominion's attacking, and we're the I don't even remember. This is how vanilla and milk toasted is.
Yeah.
They call them the Scavengers or something like that. The town that you're in, Profiteers or some name that means that basically.
Yeah.
And they all the like the people that work on your machines, your robots, and your characters, they all have very in-universe names that don't mean anything. Like, he's not the mechanic, he's not the engineer, he's the I want to say like some religious name given to him, and it's so boring I can't even commit it to memory. And the same thing when you go on a mission, they're like, okay, we need you to go get the maker's thingamajobber. And I'm like, what is that? And why do I care? Okay, on my map it shows go this way. So fly this way, kill these things, push this button and kill the things that come in afterwards. And you know, I'm okay with a generic story if the gameplay's engaging, but especially early on, and maybe it's partly my fault. I chose the tank class. They give you tank, DPS, healer, mage, not exactly those names, but like those roles. So you've got a character who's big and bulky who can take some aggro. You've got the guys who do a lot of like fire and ice attacks, and some of their little gadget abilities on their mechs are cool, but not engaging enough to make me care about a repetitive mission over and over again. Yeah. I saw within the first 4 hours, I saw the same mission 3 times in a row.
Oh no.
Yeah, and I literally was streaming this and had people like, oh, what's this like? And I got so tired of the game, I stopped streaming it and switched to another game. Wow. And I can't tell you the last. I mean, I will eat a turd sandwich on stream trying a new game because so many times I've played a game I've thought I've hated a game and thought I was too, or I missed an opportunity, so I was too hard on it in my initial review. Like, you have to get over those initial impressions that sometimes your first impressions are wrong and you just weren't in the right mood for that kind of game, and you'll come back to it later, excuse me, and enjoy it. Yeah. And man, that's why I gave this game 3 or 4 sessions and no.
Yeah, I'm just watching some gameplay now while you're chatting about it, and there's okay, for a start, like I'm not, like you were saying, I'm not a sci-fi kind of genre gamer, so it already doesn't appeal to me. So I'm trying to give it like fair play to it, but it looks so generic and like to me it's just Destiny, but just in kind of a different environment, if that makes sense. And I was never really on board with Destiny anyway, because I didn't think there was much gameplay to it, and there really isn't. So
compared to this, even Destiny 2, which was garbage, it had, I'm not kidding, Destiny 2, day one, had 10 times as much content as Anthem.
Which what annoys me about this, because $60 full like RRP for this, and there's barely anything in it. It's so unfair to the casual gamer that if you're going to put, it's classed as, I guess, a AAA title, if you want to say, for $60, and if you're going to fork out that much money, you want something in the game. And I think it's just such a rip-off.
Yeah, there's a whole like movement happening over the past 5 years, and it started with games like Destiny, the original Destiny, in the industry they call it games as a service. Like, they're setting up the vending machine, and you're going to buy that vending machine, and then they're going to sell you data, they're sell you stuff through it. Yeah. Right? They're going to sell you DLC packs and loot boxes and whatnot. And that's what really turned me off of Destiny 2, was even compared to Destiny 1, they wanted you to pay $60 for the game, then buy the DLC packs at $40 a piece. Yeah. And then on top of that, they wanted to put all this cosmetic and non-cosmetic stuff in these loot boxes that were a Skinner box, that sometimes they would give you something you want, sometimes they wouldn't. And I'm like, look, if you want to sell me cosmetics in my doll simulator, dress up simulator game, then sell it to me a la carte. I want that one for $5. I want that one for $2. I have a real issue with companies that put the random thing behind a paid box. Yeah. If there was a way to earn those in game at any kind of decent clip, that would be one thing. Like Rainbow Six Siege, you get these they call them alpha packs, where it gives you some cosmetic only stuff. It doesn't affect the gameplay. It doesn't imbalance the gameplay unless you think things like camo and stuff on your outfit are game changing.
Yeah,
that's a gray area, and I will give ground on that argument. But for the most part, everything you get out of there is cosmetic. You don't need any of it. If you want it, they will sell most of it to you for a couple bucks.
Yeah.
I think they have elite skins for like $8, and you get like a bunch of different things with it, like a whole outfit. So that's the way to do it. The Overwatch mechanic as well is everything that you buy from them is cosmetic. I don't think even Overwatch sells you things outright. Actually, they do it in an indirect way. If you get things that you don't need, you can turn them into into raw materials and craft a certain thing to keep it simple. But Anthem hasn't rolled out all the DLC yet. Like I don't think they've rolled out all the loot box stuff that they're going to. Like this week, we heard about Black Ops 4, which we all played at launch and had a decent time with it.
Yeah.
Well, here recently, they rolled out full-on loot boxes and microtransactions to the game.
Yeah, well, I think when we were talking about that, we kind of predicted that was going to happen anyway. So
we did, yeah. We talked about we knew it was coming. No, but it's just that it's that slow-moving glacier that's been coming for 10 years of the $60 game for all intents and purposes is dead as far as the AAA companies are concerned. And that's what this Anthem is just further evidence of that. Yeah.
But the thing I didn't know, maybe I saw it somewhere in the back of my head, but EA are involved with this. Yep. So like with the loot boxes and everything that happened with Star Wars Battlefront and Battlefront 2, can you really be surprised by that? What they're doing with this? Given that it's EA, that's behind it.
Well, I yes, 100%. No, I can't be surprised that EA would do this. But I don't think they're the only ones. I mean, if you look at
for sure, they're definitely not the only ones.
Yeah, I think all the big companies in their position are having to do these things. If you look at, I think we may have talked about this before, but there was an iOS and Android mobile game that came out from Nintendo maybe 2 years ago called Mario Run.
Yeah.
And I think it might have been you and I have a discussion about this that made me look at this a different way. When that game came out, Nintendo says, look, we don't want to be predatory and put out a $1 game that has $200 in microtransactions in it.
Yeah. So
what they did was they said, we're going to have a game where we need to make money on it. And we figure $10 per person for everything is fair. And they put it out. And there was no microtransactions. Yeah,
I do remember that discussion. Yeah.
And it bombed because that ecosystem of the consumer was like $10. I can get everything else for $1. Even though really if you can get an access to it, but maybe not everything that you'd want to do in it for $1.
Yeah.
And people don't take that third or fourth thought to go, okay, yeah, it's $10, but I know it's going to be quality or I know it's going to be worth it in the end. And I some people did, but in bulk they don't. And so what Nintendo has done since then, since they learned that lesson, is exactly that. They have just put out a game and it's free to play and it's just chock full of microtransactions.
Yeah.
And Fire Emblem Fates I'm sorry, Cherry. That was one of the most successful iOS games for them ever. And mobile games, it's made money hand over fist, more than most of their AAA titles.
Yeah. Interesting. But it's like, it's the point that, it's the consumer culture that we've been brought up with. If you see something that's worth $1 and then you see something else that's worth 99 cents, for the sake of a penny, or 1 cent, you're going to go with the 99 cents thing, even though it might not be better, because it's just that thought and way of thinking that we've been brought up as. You see something that's $10 for a game, we're not necessarily going to be drawn to it. But if you see something that's $3, but it has in-game purchases for $1 or $1.50, most people are going to go with the $3 version and then not realize that they will end up spending more because of the in-game purchases, because it's just, it's only $1, so I'll just pay that, to get this, etc. But in the long run, they will end up spending more probably than the $10 that it was originally worth.
It's a nuanced conversation, because you're right. The chance that they'll pay more is there, but it's not guaranteed, because they could get it and go, I don't like this game. I've only spent $3 to put it aside.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's where these companies like EA and Activision and Blizzard and all of them are coming from with this $60 upfront price point. They're basically saying, look, we're going to sell $100 games. We're going to sell $200 games. We're going to have them cost $60 up front, and later on you'll give us the other 40 or the other 140.
Yeah.
For the full game. But they're not telling you that up front. And I'm not even defending Nintendo on this, because they don't do it anymore. But that when they tried that failed experiment with Super Mario Run, they said, "Hey guys, the game's $10 up front for the mobile game," and everyone was like, thumbs down. Sort of like if Anthem would have come out and said, "Hey guys, we're never going to have DLC or any microtransactions, but you have to give us $200 to play this game." How well do you think it would do?
No. Yeah, it would. Yeah. I get your point. Yeah.
And so a lot of times you hear like big developers say, well, the reason that we have to charge extra for this stuff is because games cost a lot to make nowadays. And it's like, that is not an excuse. Make what you can make for $60. Don't hide the real price tag from us and say, oh guys, it's only $60. Buy this. And then,
Okay, right. This is a real issue that I have, because we were watching Zerka play Hollow Knight, all right?
Mm-hmm.
And that game is, $15? Probably less than $15.
Right.
And the amount of class that is in that game is stupid. That should be way more than what it's marketed at. So I hate the fact that they're using that as an excuse to put out this kind of game for $60, and they're claiming, it takes so much to do, blah, blah, blah. But there's nothing in it. It's such a garbage way of thinking.
Well, there's a huge difference between those two, between Anthem and that game, and when it comes to the getting that game made. Because Hollow Knight, like, I don't know the exact studio makeup, but I read a review or heard people talking about it that it's basically made by 3 guys.
Team Cherry, yeah.
Team Cherry, and they're a indie developer who's very passionate. They probably put in all kinds of crazy hours, and they reap all the rewards and the risk. Big companies like that make Anthem, like EA and EA owned BioWare, they have to spend years. I mean, Anthem's been in development for 5 years, and
5 years. And what have they got to show for it?
I'm not defending. You're making me defend Anthem right now. But
sorry.
So let's talk about the good things that are in Anthem. If you like all that art, the HD art that's in that game, the player models, the voice acting, all that stuff costs money. And if you watch the first 20 minutes of Anthem, there is like Hollywood level action going on in the background. Team Cherry, while they could make a cool animation in their 2D bug universe, they could not make a 3D. They wouldn't have the resources to make it. I remember when the Wii U first came out, games were being delayed launch games were being delayed over and over again. And Nintendo came out and said, you know what? We were not prepared for the amount of time and money that it takes to make HD resources and to animate them, because it's just like literally when you go from regular standard def, which Nintendo's Wii and was 720, they went to 1080p HD, and all their texture work had to be updated, all the model work had to be updated, and that took them a lot of time that they, from a development standpoint, didn't plan on. Yeah. But it doesn't change the fact that, okay, if you're going to do that, if you're going to have a really expensive development, don't tell us it's only going to be a $60 game.
Yeah.
and I think that's what's changed is as the DLC has become more and more obvious, what I think the consumer has to face is, okay, AAA titles are no longer $60. And you either know that when you pay the first $60 up front, or you don't, or you're surprised when, hey, if you want to keep playing this game that you've sunk 60 hours into, you have to pay $20 or $40 for the next expansion, or otherwise you're going to be left behind.
Yeah, that also really bugs me as well. The fact that they can get away with not only just the base game for being sold for $60, but then, like you were just saying, the DLC or any expansions that like future releases also money on top of that. So
yeah, and paid cosmetic and loot boxes, and
it's oh god, it annoys me to absolute no end. Just I feel like it's such a well, obviously they've done their marketing research and stuff and etc. But I feel sometimes they would benefit from maybe reducing the initial price. So yeah, fair enough. It's a AAA title if you want to call it that, but there's nothing in there to claim it's a AAA apart from the graphics, the fairly decent. But to put it out at $60 and not get anything for your money just really, really hacks me off. So why not reduce it to like $50 at least, or $45, just so the people that have actually invested and bought the game don't feel like they're getting ripped off so much. And then possibly in the future, if the DLC is to be released, they won't feel like, again, they're being ripped off because they paid $60 for the original game and got nothing in it. So why not do that?
I understand. I 100% agree. That's what I would like as a consumer. But why they don't do it is because unless Anthem like tanks hard and makes no money, they won't learn from this. I mean, Destiny 2 had a terrible launch, and Anthem seems to be worse.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's this big gamble. I mean, because what will happen if Anthem, I mean, let's just think through it. If Anthem launches and is a miserable failure and they close up shop in a year or two, what happens to EA? They either switch out top level management. They'll like BioWare, which is a shell of what they once were as a developer. Well, that development house will probably get closed down. I mean, I'm just calling that because that's what EA does. Closes down developer houses.
Yeah.
But I mean that. So EA won't actually, other than suffering from their shareholders meeting, they're not really going to feel the long term impact of this because they got too many irons in the fire. Now,
like they have probably. They're never going to come off worse from what compared to the people that have bought this game. If it does tank, so what? Like you say, they'll might take a little hit. The shareholders will probably be a bit annoyed. They'll just move on to the next one and then just put more garbage like this out. So it's never ending cycle. They don't listen.
They listen. They're just not listening to fans. They listen to their stock price. And I'm just looking right now at their 5-year stock price. Or I'm looking at right now from 2014, their stock price was $30 a share.
Right.
At the end of 2015, their stock price doubled. It was more than doubled. It was $75. At the end of 2017, their stock price was $115 a share. In the middle of 2018 is $150 per share. Now, at the end of 2018 or the fall of 2018, when that Star Wars game came out, it like cut in half. It had a 50% reduction. And you're like, oh, okay, that was Star Wars Battlefront, maybe a couple other things that happened that taught them a lesson. But since December 25th, which was the middle of the Battlefront 2 fiasco, right?
Yeah.
It's gone back up. It's gone back up till February 15th, which was last week. It's back up to $107. Now it's dropped quite a bit in the last couple of days. It dropped maybe 15% in the last week or so. And I have to assume it's based on this news from that Anthem's getting some bad press, but
it's just what's going to happen. It's just a never ending cycle. It'll fall and rise all the time.
Yeah.
But as long as they keep putting titles out, I'm assuming the rise was due to the hype of Anthem before it got released. And then when it actually did, people obviously realized what it was, and obviously it's fallen again. But then they'll announce something else, and people are like, "Oh, EA are getting back on the horse, and they've got this amazing new title. Let's invest." And then they'll put something garbage out, and then it'll fall again, and they'll just keep on doing that until something breaks the chain. But I don't know what can.
That's true. I mean, the EA. I found a lot of maybe people that are 10 years younger than me that were like. Really got into hardcore gaming in the Xbox 360 era. Like the 05, 06, 07 era. Like that was their heyday. They love EA because EA really killed it for a stretch there, from like, let's say 04. Like I'm looking at their stock price and I can see that from 03 to 08, they had like their maximum height of that era at about $50 per share.
Yeah.
And then and something happened in '08, probably the market shrink that happened in '08, and their stock price fell considerably to like what it was in the early 2000s and before it started climbing back up again. Their stock price has gone crazy, and from like 2015 on, maybe 2014 on, has like quadrupled and quintupled in price. And I think that's because they were making so much money on DLC transactions, the mobile game stuff.
Yeah.
And that mobile market, I don't want to say I told you so, but I remember when the mobile market proved that people will pay a small entry fee and then they'll catch what they call whales and big dollars on cosmetic and microtransactions. I said, that's going to bleed into our video game economy. And everyone's like, oh, you're Chicken Little, sky's falling. I'm like, it's going to happen. That's what, if the same companies are making the mobile transactions, they're going to be like, maybe something's here. And EA and all the big ones they're pushing that barrier. And there's going to be something like Star Wars Battlefront 2 that pushes them back a little bit, from time to time. But overall, that glacier will still move. They'll go, oh, we pushed a little too far with the Battlefront 2. We'll learn from that.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't put enough content in Anthem when it launched, so all their marketing money will be dumped into now with more content. Now with 2 scoops of raisins. That's what they're going to say at the next Anthem. I like Battlefront did. They're going to put out a free update. They're going to be like, hey guys, we have a free update. It wasn't quite ready for launch, but now everyone who paid for the game up front is going to get it. There you go.
Again, that is another thing that really annoys me, is that people are putting out games that aren't ready to be put out. The immediate one that comes to mind is Fallout 76.
Yeah.
That again suffered from lack of content with it being put out, and has kind of gone like down in history as probably one of the worst one that Bethesda has ever done. But it must be pressure from the higher ups or something that they have to release something, even if they're going to get backlash from it.
That's that stock market,
yeah, exactly, yeah.
That board of directors who sits there and says, I don't want to hear any of your excuses why your game's not ready. All our competitors with games are out and they're making money. I don't care if it's not ready. Put it out and then we'll put content out later. That's what everybody's doing now. Boom, done. Ship it. And like you said, that Fallout was another typical example. And I actually put a message on my Discord about, I'm tired of saying exactly what you said. I'm tired of games getting released that aren't ready to be released for $60. And I think it was Gorby, who's been a guest on the podcast before, said they're going to keep on doing it as long as people line up and pre-order the damn thing.
Exactly, yeah.
And you know, BioWare goes down in history. They made Knights of the Old Republic. They made Mass Effect. They made all these great games. But that's BioWare in name only for the most part. I'm sure there's some people who have been there the whole time, but like most of the creative leads and the people who were really influential in there are gone, and they're just in name only. And this is what EA does. They are a developer vampire. They buy up a developer. They milk everything they can out of them, and then they leave the dead husk on the side of the road as they move on to the next one. And it's just.
Oh, correct me if I'm wrong. Was it Bullfrog that EA took over as well? The guys that were behind Theme Hospital and Theme Park as well.
Yes.
So EA got their claws into that, and then consequently shut them down, I guess.
Yeah, and it took those original guys, came back and they made an indie game called Theme Hospital, and guess what? It's freaking great. Not Theme Hospital. 2 Point Hospital. Yeah. But it's great. It's a modernized Theme Hospital. It's a modernized version of what EA reaped the benefits from buying up Bullfrog, consuming everything it could out of them, and then just like, oh, you can't make us great games at a insanely good clip, and take risks and all pay off 100%. You're out of here.
Yeah. It's such a shame. But again, I come back to the point, it's EA. Nothing is really going to affect them that much that they're going to go out of business, because they're such a massive conglomerate. They're just going to keep on, like you say, taking studios and producing games and failing at some points, but essentially just coming out greener on the other side. It's It's just annoying.
My statement on EA is, if you like video games and you love the art of video games, EA is the enemy.
Yeah.
If you want to be a fan of EA, buy their stock. and sell it before they do something stupid like Battlefront. Here's a brief history of EA's closed studios, according to Game Rant.
Oh, God.
Bullfrog Studios.
Yeah.
Origin Systems, who made the Ultima Online or the Ultima RPGs and Wing Commander franchises in the early 90s. If you are a classic gamer, these are like holy grail games that EA bought them up, shut them down.
Mm.
Mythic Entertainment, that Dark Age of Camelot that I used to play back in the day, the MMO, they bought them and started making decisions for them, and they went from having 25, 30 servers to now they have one. And it's actually, I think that game is still being kept up, but it's not being hosted by EA anymore.
Yeah.
Pandemic Studios made the original Star Wars Battlefront games, like the early 2000s one. EA bought them up and then closed them down in about 6 years. DreamWorks Interactive, Danger Close Games, who made the Medal of Honor series.
Oh, wow.
They made Lord of the Rings, Battle for Middle-earth, all the Medal of Honor. And Medal of Honor used to be like a Call of Duty, if you guys don't remember that one.
Yeah, I remember Medal of Honor.
Danger Close also became part of DICE later on as it got reformed. But yeah, they bought them and closed them down. Waystone Games, who made an early MOBA game called Dawngate. They bought them out, trying to get into and compete with League of Legends. Dawngate never made it out of beta, and then they shut down the studio after buying them.
Really?
Westwood Studios, who made a bunch of Command and Conquer games in the late 90s. They made a game called Dune 2, an MMO called Earth and Beyond. They bought them up in 98 and closed them down in 03.
Oh, 5 years.
Yeah. BioWare Montreal made the Mass Effect game. Or they made Mass Effect Andromeda. But
so that's why it sucked.
Yeah, exactly. Andromeda was made after EA bought them out.
Mm.
And the Mass Effect series after that bomb, they're like, yeah, we're going to put the Mass Effect series on hiatus, and they laid off a bunch of the BioWare Montreal. Actually, they dissolved BioWare Montreal. They dissolved the whole studio.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, they buy you out. They ham-fistedly manage you and ask the impossible. And when your game fails as a result, it's your fault and you're dead.
It's such a shame because the Mass Effect series were really good. Like there was a lot of a bit of controversy about, or upset, I guess, about the ending of 3. But as a whole, the game was really good. So it's
absolutely it's amazing.
Just a shame.
So Black Box Games made a bunch of Need for Speed games. Electronic Arts bought them in 2002, shut them down in 2013. So that had a good run.
Yeah.
But that's after they had them make a game called Skate.
Oh, no. I remember Skate.
You remember Maxis, founded by Will Wright?
Yeah, they did The Sims.
Talk about holy ground. It was bought by EA in 97.
Yeah.
The studio behind the all-powerful SimCity franchise. However, once the series of relatively strong launches, Maxis released SimCity Reboot in 2013. The game was a disaster.
Yeah.
The Sim Studio developer was shuffled quietly into EA's mobile division. So they've made them make this Sims 4, this microtransaction loaded bare bones release where they released a full price game with nothing in it and said, we'll sell you the rest later. Don't worry. And then when that failed, when the fans were like, no, we don't want this, they shuffled that studio into their mobile division.
Oh, so that was their fault. Sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So The Sims is a prime example of putting out a game with barely anything in it and then releasing the DLC. The Sims has a ridiculous amount of expansion packs for it, and they're all like full price as well. They're like 30 quid to get some of the stuff. Like, it's not even like a full game either. It's just extra stuff that you can get within The Sims. And I think we mentioned, we had a conversation about it, and to buy the entirety of The Sims, including all the expansions, it would set you back so much money. Like
$400?
Yeah,
something like
it was something stupid.
Yeah. It's because games are really expensive to make now, Cherry. Like Sims, with all that high-res 3D graphics.
Yes. I mean, that plant pot took like a week to make.
Oh my god.
Yeah, anyway.
But that's why EA's stock price was going up and up and up. And that's what was encouraging them to do some of this stuff. And, after Battlefront 2 and maybe with this Anthem thing, they'll contract a little bit. Maybe they'll halt their progress a little bit. But you got to remember, from 2015 to now, or to the end of 2018, so in 3 short years, they had their biggest success on the stock market that they've ever had. So all the metrics that the driving factors behind EA care about are right there. That's all they care about. And does that mean, gamers, they just complain about anything? Just keep on doing it. Keep on doing it. They'll still buy it. And then Battlefront 2 happened. So.
Well, the only bit of credit that I can give EA, and it's not even that much, when the whole fiasco with the loot boxes in Battlefront 2 happened, there was such a massive backlash that they actually reversed what they were doing, to an extent at least anyway, with that. So I guess if that big of an uproar happens again, so they might do something about it, but it seems like a very, very long shot that they will actually change what they're doing.
Well, I think you're right that it will change. It will have an effect on what they're doing, but it's not gonna make them look in the mirror and go, "Wait, are we the bad guy? Are we being evil?"
Yeah, no,
they're gonna
not
go,
at all.
"How do we get away with it next time? How do we not get caught?"
Yeah.
Because this one it was the perfect trifecta of the Battlefront 2, the shit that went down. They had. The game didn't sell well because of the reviews. The reviews were terrible.
Yeah.
And except for the ones that they paid for. And like in the United States and in Europe and places like the government stepping in going, "You're selling gambling to kids and we can't have that. We're going to change the laws."
Yeah, I do remember
that. The third prong about why that was bad was that got back to Disney, who they bought the exclusive license from Star Wars from.
Yes.
And Disney's like, we need to, there was a public statement, we need to reevaluate if this is the best situation for us.
Yeah.
So Disney was like, "Oh, you're going to mess with our golden goose? Fuck you." We're not going to have that. Now, I've since read a couple weeks ago, Disney saying, "No, we can't make our own video games. We're going to still leave it with the EA. Just don't do it. Don't get us in trouble with the law anymore." Because people were associating Disney and Star Wars with selling gambling to kids, not EA.
Yeah.
So Disney's like, "Well, we can't have that."
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I don't know. It just sucks anyway.
We went off on a huge rant about the industry, which we said we would. But and to be honest, this, in my opinion, this is the discussion that has to happen after Anthem comes out. Anthem came out. It's boring. It's incomplete. It sucks. It's $60. Done. We talked about it. It's the gameplay mechanics are not as good as Destiny. There's not as much content as Destiny. If you're looking for a game like this, go load up Destiny 2. I've heard nothing but how that game is way better since they put out 3 expansions. Now that the full $100, $120 game is out, it's a full game. So
yeah,
I'm not saying that it's worth $120. I'm just saying that. And here's the thing: I played Destiny 1 probably 2 years into the Destiny release. I never played it at launch. And I got it on like a weekend sale for all the expansions and everything for like $35-$40.
Oh, wow.
And I had a great time for a month. Like it's kind of like a dungeon crawler, it's a looter shooter basically.
Yeah.
I had fun getting my character, getting new gear, and going and seeing all the content because there was a lot of content there. They had dailies, and it was kind of like when you play WoW and doing the dungeons. It's like sometimes you do the same one over and over again, but there's that chance for loot, and your group makeup is fun, and the gunplay is great.
Yeah.
But after a while, you hit that ceiling where things start getting exponentially harder to get and rarer to drop. And that's when an MMO or a game like that, I'm like, okay, I've hit the end of this. I'm going to move on to something else more fun. And Anthem is on the front end of that. It's like, "Hey guys, we have 3 maps. Go to town for 6 months while we make the rest of the content."
Yeah.
And it's not just that the game's incomplete, Cherry. The actual, even compared to other games of its type, the high dollar voice acting and animation is wasted on the most milquetoast vanilla story I've ever seen in my life. It is so boring. I literally, I'm not kidding, I was falling asleep playing it.
Yeah, I told you offline yesterday that I was watching a review by a channel that I watch on YouTube, and they were discussing the history and the backstory of Anthem, and one of the presenters was reading from it must have been like a Wikipedia or actually from the Anthem I don't know.
Right, codex or whatever they call
Yeah,
it.
something.
Yeah.
And as the guy was reading it, his co-host was gradually just falling asleep on the couch. So
It is. It's like they give it all this grandiose delivery and have this sweeping music and swelling music behind you, and you're like, okay, I know this game. It's like a bad movie. They want me to care, but they have not earned it. I don't know who this character is, and you're like trying to make me feel bad for him, and like he's my buddy forever. Like, I just met this motherfucker. Tell me more about him. Give us something to go through together that pulls us closer. It's like watching it's like watching a Star Wars prequel. I'm supposed to be emotionally invested in these characters who are just cardboard cutouts on screen. I don't care.
Well, a prime example is that what you were talking about earlier when you were trying to recall some of the names from the characters in it. And they just don't stick.
Mm-mm.
You've got no connection with them at all.
There's this young kid who you meet when you land there. He's your assistant. And he's just super smiley and friendly, and it's uncomfortable with how realistic he looks. And he's like, why is he looking at me like he wants to have sex with me? I do not like this at all. Like, literally, all the characters have these weird, like, facial animations, and they're just way too happy to see you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, this is disturbing. But I think, if nothing else, what Anthem has done is given me the phrase, Anthem is the video game equivalent to the Star Wars prequels. I'm going to be using that on stream for the next month. It looks great. It looks like it'll be good, but when you get in there, there's nothing there. All right. Well, Cherry, if people want to get a hold of you on Twitter, how do they do that?
You guys can contact me for anything if you want. I am on Twitter. I'm at cherrycake518. I'm also on Twitch if you guys want to check me out anytime at www. Man, how old am I?
The internet. How does it work?
HTTP. It's twitch.tv/cherrycaketv. What about you, Crunk?
I am on the Twitters at Crunky_Twitch, and I'm on Twitch at twitch.tv/Crunky with 2 N's. Also, we have a Patreon page now, if you want to tell us a little bit more about it, Cherry.
Yeah, guys, so for those that are interested in supporting us a little bit more, we do have a Patreon page, like Crunk has just said. That is, go lurk yourself over on Patreon. And basically what we're going to be doing is recording an extra episode of the podcast, which is going to be just kind of random things for now, not necessarily game related. We have one working in the works, I guess, at the moment, which is going to be released this coming week. If you want to go and check it out, there are different tiers that you guys can support us at, ranging from a very, very measly $2, which will get you access to the extra podcast, all the way up to $100 if you guys really want to show the love. So
yeah, we're gonna have extra stuff on those tiers, like merch and pick the episode topics and Q&A and stuff like that. So there's a whole smorgasbord there. But if you just want to hear the extra episodes, it's $2 per month. So that's $1 an episode for the extra episodes. We think that's pretty reasonable. And this free episode will still come out every week, like it has been for a year and a half. So don't worry about that. If you're a regular listener, and you only want to get the free ones, that's not going away.
Yeah, we'll take care of you guys. Don't worry.
Exactly. But if you want to go full EA and pay us $100 a month, we'll happily make some content for you at a later date.
Yes. Oh no, we've become EA.
We've become the thing that we hate most. Well, our board of directors is on my ass. I've got to get something out now.
Might not have any content, but it'll be there.
We'll happily pay you. We'll happily give you a cheeseburger on Thursday if you pay us today.
Sounds good.
That's an old reference for Popeye for you kids who've never seen Popeye.
Your age is showing, Crunk.
I may have to cut that one out. That one really does make me look old. I sound like a 1920s prospector now.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.